Okay, Ukshita, I am making you host. Now you can share the screen.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mona Lisa. Good evening, Shoma. Today we will learn very interesting topic, that is the philosophy of Rabindranath Tagore and behavioral economics. And this is a very challenging topic. So
Yes, I hope my screen is visible and I am audible.
yeah, you are very much audible.
Okay, sir. So today we will discuss about Tagore's philosophy and behavioral economics. Let's start by linking Tagore's philosophy to economics first. So what happened was during World War One, when he talked about cultural autonomy and universal brotherhood, and popularized that self-expression should not be based on self-interest but contribute to the enrichment of the mankind as a whole. But simultaneously we'll say that we were also studying economics, and at that time the economists, as in they postulated that invisible hand of Smith brings about market equilibrium. So what is market equilibrium? When we say that the demand and supply are in intersection, the demand curve and the supply curve are in intersection, and there is a price where buyers are willing to buy and and sellers are willing to sell. So that price is known as equilibrium price. And he said that would happen automatically when people would behave in self interest, as in when people would be like, okay, if there is too much of supply, the prices would be so low that the demand would increase, and automatically the shift would be towards the equilibrium price. And when there is too less of supply, the prices would be so high that the demand would decrease, and there would be an automatic shift towards the equilibrium price. So this was the thought processes, two thought processes. And these two thought processes convergence may seem difficult, but in 50s and 70s, like in 50s 1950s, people started thinking about the cognitive behavior, psychological behavior. And in 1979, Tversky, he started saying that okay, there is something that we need to think about, which is behavioral economics. And itself itself this whole concept started challenging the assumptions of economics. And the basic assumption which they challenged was the rationality. Consumers are not rational, and consistency is one of the most difficult attribute that any human being can display. So even with centuries of change in economics and economies, the world is still on the same economic theories. That has not changed. And the first wave is being witnessed by the behavioral economics itself, while Simon comes in, where he says that people are able to satisfy themselves at suboptimal levels, and they are not looking at for the utility maximization, which we always assume, given the budget constraints, the limited amount of income, so they would always be uh, preferring goods that are satisfying themselves. So there was this terms like citrus parables, remaining other things constant, homo economics, the man who is always rational, and maximizing, game ultimatum, and all this gibberish terms, which was basically some Latin Greek phrases that has been adopted. But when we talk about Tagore, he was the first one to bring in humanism, the concept of cooperation. So his philosophies, as mentioned by Datta sir in Google Classroom, Tagore's philosophy emphasizes the importance of human emotions, human experiences, and relationships. Behavioral economics also focuses on understanding human behavior and decision making. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to make the optimal decision. Now we want that, we do not want to have a decision which is not good for us. We do not want to have a decision which may harm us. We do not want to make a decision which we may regret later. So this is something similar to what Tagore said, like Gurudev said. So
One sec, Akshita. Here I like to add that before the Tagore, economics is following the mechanistic approach. But whenever we are thinking about the humanistic approach, then the economics, this behavioral economics, they are thinking about the organismic approach. So two approaches are there. One is the mechanistic approach. They are perceiving that human being is controlled by, that is the consumer's behavior is controlled by the market. But when we are talking about the behavioral economics, then we find no, the market can be controlled by the consumer. So consumer can control the market, not necessarily market will control the consumer. Okay, so that is the humanistic approach. And Rabindranath Tagore has given importance on this humanism. Okay, now you continue.
Yes, sir. So, as I mentioned, this approach uh, tells us about the consumer behavior that is influenced by factors. These factors being psychological factors, sociological factors, environmental factors, and sometimes we can say that evolutionary factors may also play a role in it. So, uh, there is something that is known as altruism, which says that when you see a National Geography channel and you see a group of animals over there, and there is an attack of lion, and one of the old animal or one of the animal is there, and that sacrifices itself for the good of the entire animal group. And then there would be a guy saying, okay, now you see animals are more kind of altruist as compared to humans. But is it so? So what is this reciprocal altruism? When we talk about various group of animals when they live together and they say that, okay, we are doing something so that we can get a little bit amount of benefit out of it, because it's in a society we need to coexist. Similar thing is being observed in behavioral economics. So what we are trying to do is that we gain information from others to make decisions for others, and this falls under the choice architecture. Like when you go in a shopping mall and there is you want to buy a suit, or like a female suit, or you want to buy a what else do we girls buy, like a frock, or not really a frock, a dress or something. So these people employ salesmen that are attractive and that have a tendency to nudge you to buy products because it is difficult to say no. So that thing was in marketing, the choice architecture. But uh, this has been also introduced in economics. And when we describe about ourselves, and it is not nad, it's and we decide about others, there is a different decision. Why? So this we discussed in first class when we talked about that if there is a disease and there is vaccine A and vaccine B, and vaccine A has so it was not basically vaccine, it was something else, the experiment was something else. uh, but let's assume that it is vaccine A and vaccine B, and vaccine A has 10% chances of survival, whereas vaccine B has 8% chances of survival with 2% chances of having complexities after survival, like severe diarrhea, some emotional unbalance, or some hormonal imbalance. So what was the result? The result was that for themselves humans will prefer 10%, like vaccine A, and for others humans would prefer vaccine B. Like, why does that happen? I may be missing some of the statistics or the percentage. Maybe it's like 10 and 2%, like 12% chance or something of that sort. So they are not willing to take that 2% risks for themselves. Now, coming to a completely different aspect of behavioral economics, that's the pro-social behavior, which talks about utility maximization, social norms, and identity payoff. Is that now we often don't know why someone would sacrifice themselves for another. So why do we do that? Is it some public good, some social norms over ourselves, because we want to be a good person, or we want to display ourselves as a good person? Or is it uh, the glow, the warm glow, that's about we feel good after helping someone? uh, Often we have like read in, I don't know whether Reader Digest come right now or not, but we have read how in the over there are instances and cases where uh, people are willing to display themselves as someone different from what they are. I am not currently able to remember the specific case study. I just forgot. But let's talk about holism. So, Tagore believes in interconnectedness of all things. Behavioral economics recognizes that human behavior is influenced by various factors, such as social factors, emotional factors, environmental contexts. Simple example: if two people are dining in, and when you are with your family, how much you are willing to pay as a tip, and when you are with your friend, how much you are willing to pay as a tip, and when you are with your maybe would be better half, or with your girlfriend, boyfriend, how much are you willing to pay at that time? So now there are some non-economic benefits that are linked to the pro-social behavior. Why do people act in a way that is termed as pro-social behavior? Is because they associate themselves with non-economic benefits. Simple example which we used to study in our commercial applications: Ratan Tata was a crude businessman and knew what would profit him the most. One statement is this, and statement two is Ratan Tata was a pure gem. He was the first one to think about Tata Cancer Hospital, and his Tagore campaign was brilliant, which would bring awareness about voting or various social issues. So this is the kind of non-economic benefits that we link with goodwill. We would have this example in our for goodwill textbook. Goodwill. Now let's talk about Narayan Murthy or Subramaniam, SN Subramaniam. They have different type of debates going on. The work life balance debates, 90 hours of work, 80 hours of work, and then Subramaniam saying that people are staring at their wives and all that stuff. So now
Akshita, please, you do not go for any controversial statement.
yes sir, yes sir,
So
definitely.
it is better not to discuss. It is online, YouTube. It is the public.
Yes sir, sure
So
sir.
please, you do not go for any controversial issue. Avoid the person name. You can think, you can use anonymous.
Yes sir, sure, definitely. So let's move on to the next slide. Now, it's just that people have this gifting behavior also. So that gifting behavior tells us about how they relate the gifts to this status symbol. So some people are motivated by the desire to avoid fraud as well. So that's like people would be like, okay, I am going to a party of a big rich businessman, a wedding event or something. So I should carry something expensive with me so that they consider me important. But the same businessman, when he is giving gifts to his employees, there would be Haldiram namkeen packets or something of that sort. So the reciprocation is also as per their perceived standards of living. And then you say that, okay, you see this guy on right, that's James and Donny, and it's an economist that he incorporated the idea of warm glow. So he said that altruism, that when we give something, it's not always because we do not get anything in return. He says that when people give public goods, then they have a feeling of goodness. Uh, it's on the individual level. That's the unselfish joy of giving is more than joy of getting. But when they when he talks about people at large, then one, it's about reaching many people, and then the next thing is how well you can connect an individual to their individual level of identity pain, or individual level of how you can. So I'll just give an example so that it's easier to understand. When you see an image of an a human baby suffering, and initially it used to happen, now it's like now our system has attuned itself to it. So there was a picture of baby, and he's suffering from some kind of disease, and people are saying yes, please donate, and there would be a huge amount of donations in like 2010s and 2010 2010s and 15s, like this, like these 5 years it would have worked for and then when there was some famine or landslide, and there were hundreds of people dying, the threshold maybe 50, or I don't remember the threshold right now, but yes, if there is some many amount of people dying, people would not really uh, be willing to donate unless and until there are individual collections. So people would be like, okay, it's God's fate, it's very sad, it's their fates. So that is the concept of warm glow, and that turns into something that marketing people have used it. So when you are able to connect at an individual level, then you are willing to give more, and then you feel that it's not equitable, and sometimes you are even able to sacrifice more money. So this is something that I have not written in my resume, and I have not shared it. But okay, for I did work when I was in college with one or two NGOs, and what I personally observed was there were people who were of middle income group who donated large amount of money for maybe child rights in UN, different UN or other organizations. And there were people who were like, they would be very good people in big houses with a German Shepherd outside, and mm, they would not give any check. Now there are behavioral implications and knowledge, like yes, there is a lot of information and people do not have knowledge. There are many aspects to it, but one simple aspect is that the element of surprise that was there when I was there at that time in like 2013 or 14, like in my grad or post grad. So yeah, these are the kind of things that was my maybe my first finding at that time. So yeah, intuition and rationality. Let's talk about rationality and intuition. So, Tagore valued the role of intuition in human decision making, and behavioral economics also acknowledges the interplay between intuitive and rational thinking in shaping human behavior. Now, these two things are related. To what extent? Some people may behave rationally when as a way of intuition. So some people have their LIC covered and insurance covered, but when we bring an element of money in it, then it's a very different thing. So I would take back to the example of credit creation in banks, where suppose I go to bank and I deposit 100 rupees, and the we'll keep it simple to the cash reserve ratio. We won't include the repo rates and reverse repo rates, just the CRR, the cash reserve ratio. For simplicity, 20% is the cash reserve ratio. I have deposited like 100 rupees. So 80 rupees would be something that would that bank would lent to maybe Farah or maybe Soma or anyone. Okay, so the bank is creating credit in a way. The simple example which we used to use for students was the coat example, a laundry coat example, where you give in uh, the coat for dry cleaning, and for 10 days he says, okay, it will be having 10 days ki 10 days, after 10 days we'll return you, and he has got your coat. Now your coat, it's your coat, but that coat the person can wear it in like he can lend it to someone else, and wear that that person can wear that coat. So I'm forgetting the real example, but this is the credit creation, and we think that okay, individual level pay, it's not making any difference. But when we talk about an economy, suppose what would happen if the entire Indian economy is working like that? How much credit would be created? The money that is deposited in the bank but is uh, lent to someone else. So this kind of credit creation is something that happens. And just one example from Farzi, where this is a movie that is not much recommended. I'm not recommending it, but just 0.25 seconds to one I'll play, and I hope I'm able to share my audio as well. How will I share my audio? I forgot. Okay, share sound.
Hello, Kshita. You
Yes,
go
sir.
for just some of the
The
important theories are there, na? So I am
yes, sir.
talking
Yeah,
what
sir,
is
काम करेगा.
Yes, sir.
closely
Sorry,
related
I'll
to
just
theory
yeah. Yeah,
instead of yeah.
this we can maybe
Yeah, the
share in the
prospect
group.
theory is there, Nach theory is there. How do you relate Rabindranath Tagore's philosophy with the Nach theory?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
So that is important rather than you are presenting the different type of example.
Yes, sure, sir. So let's begin with the framing effect. Tagore's emphasizes on the importance of perspective and context is reflected in the behavioral economics concept of framing effect, which shows how the way of information is presented influences human decisions. So let's go to Germany. And now these beautiful images that may come to your mind. In 1960, at the age of 60, Tagore also visited Germany, and at that time, World War just ended. So people were like very hopeless, and they were feeling having a cold intellect with they had irrational problems, and they were trying to find an irrational solutions. And then Guruji went in there, and his life has been all about poverty and challenges and how to overcome them. So he kind of nudged them into this into a positive mindset by bringing about his theories of life, his contemporary theories, his contemporary thought process, his uh, his poetic influences. And that was how at that time he
Now, what is
used
framing effect?
so framing effect is when the people at a huge were able to frame themselves in him, and then they were able to follow his footsteps. And it was a combination of framing effect and nudge. Am I right?
Then
Yeah.
how Tagore's philosophy is related to the framing effect?
So the way he presented the information, so that in his information, his life served as an influencing part where people decisions and judgment
No, you are
judgments
talking
were
about
towards.
the consumer's behavior, no?
Yes,
The
sir.
who will be the consumer, their behavior is guided by the framing effects
Yes,
because
sir.
they have understood that this type of product, it has the different type of value added, lot of the values are involved in that product. Okay, so that might be the framing effect. Are you telling this thing?
Sure, sir. So framing effect can also be seen in insurance industry,
Hmm.
where people are presented with an option that this investment would give you a 75% of returns after you give a systematic investment plan. So SIP I'm
Hmm.
talking about, where each you give a monthly installment and you'll get a 75% of the principal amount. This is the a positive framing. But when someone says that okay, there is a risk, uh, remember that advertisement where they used to quickly say mutual funds are subject to market risk, please read the offer documents carefully. And people were not able to identify risks or disadvantages of decisions or options, so they did not framed it as like this is having a 25% chance of failure. No. So they did not wanted a loss framing or a loss aversion. So that is why they increased the speed of that thing, and that was afterward that was challenged. So they could have said that investing in stocks could have results of 10% results, or they could have cited an example of Rakesh Jhunjhunwala or someone of that sort, but they did not do that. So yeah, this is also kind of framing that is used in marketing and economics, and now we are trying to understand how can we give a positive frame to lots of people. I would go back to one of the evolutionary example where was this research was done. Yeah, so this research was about in a high school where they said that okay, environment of children is monitored for 15 years till 15 years of age, because they get the same amount of exposure. And then they researched and gives in and finding that yes, maths genes are present in boys, and boys are more effective, and boys are more intelligent in maths as compared to girls. This was trashed later on when they found out that there were things like when a boy raises his hands and give an answer, more positive affirmation was given to him as compared to females. There were challenges of females that were not addressed in that research, and later on it was like, okay, that's not true. But at that time, a huge amount of population was framed in for something like maths gene that could have existed, and still there would be people who would believe that. Okay, now, so that is kind of a framing effect. Now, the question arises, how do we try to mitigate the framing effect? How do we try to, the criticality of information, how can we say that this information is giving me a framing effect or not? So there is hindsight bias and theories like that, which we would discuss somewhat later. Due to time constraints, let me quickly just finish this. So social influence, let's talk about social influence. Tagore's philosophy highlights the significance of social relationships and communities. Behavioral economics also recognizes the power of social influence in shaping human behavior, including conformity, social norms, and peer effects. So cooperation and trust, so this can be, there are various signals, norm, and enforcements that come into play. So how does a person send signals? By body languages, tone of voices. A tone of voices, a simple example would be radio. How can a person in such a small time frame, such a small time, like if you are only listening to it for half an hour and you get used to that voice, how do we move towards or away from someone? So that would be covered in neurosciences and economics, and then we would study about nucleus, like dopamine and experiments that have been conducted. For right now, we would just understand about signals. Norms, social norms, people tend to appreciate people who follow social norms and dislike people who does not follow social norms. And then when there is a lot of conflicts, then there are regulations like antitrust regulations, red herring agreements. Sorry, that's not related, that's for an IPO before someone goes public. But yes, there are many enforcements that need to come in play. And then we cooperate because of so what just crux of what all we have learned, that we help our partners in social partners, like when we used to play that chain game, when five or the longest chain would used to win. So in social situations, social partners tend to cooperate. But what happens if this number is increased to 10, 20, 500? Would they cooperate? No, they would normally choose non-cooperation. Warm glow or impure altruism was given by this economist, where feeling of giving is greater than feeling of getting. People do not like inequality. People will be willing to sacrifice their own money to reach equality in outcomes. So, and the most famous one is the intentions. My intentions were pure. So, anticipation plays a role. So, people are biased towards people who they think that their intentions are good. For example, a Facebook advertisement saying that we are using our money towards a good cause of developing a school in some rural. Oh, okay, I'm not able to pronounce it right now. So some underdeveloped nation, we are going to do it for some underdeveloped nation. Then at that time they would get a larger amount of research funding as compared to the research funding if they want to do something in a first world country. So yeah, that's all for today, I think. And there is this market religion, community size, and the evolution of fairness and punishment, where social punishment is more influential as compared to social rewards. This is a study that you can just uh, read it, and it's interesting because it takes the uh, religion as well as evolution. And then yeah, the applications and implications is that public policy, Tagore's philosophy, and behavioral economics insight can inform public policy designs, as we see in PM Care, where people were ready to give for a good cause, taking into account human behavior, social context, and emotional factors. um, Marketing and consumer behavior, understanding the intersection of Tagore's philosophy and behavioral economics can help marketers develop more effective strategies that appeal to human emotions, values, and social influences. Personal development and well-being, the combined perspectives of Tagore's philosophy and behavioral economics can offer insights into human well-being, happiness, and personal growth, highlighting the importance of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and social connection. So that's all for today. Thank you so much. And you can also read this study by Lowenstein, Frames of Mind in Intertemporal Choices. It can be good for neurosciences and economics as well. That what can neurosciences tells us about uh,
Neuroscience is
economics.
not the topic. Okay, thank you, Akshita,
Yes, yes.
for pointing out this discussion. Here, I like to share directly the materials I have given in the Google Classroom. So I think if we directly go to the Google Classroom, we can understand what Akshita is presenting in better way. So I am directly going to the Google Classroom. Now, keep in mind that is behavioral economics has very good theories, Some of the important theories are theories of the rationality, irrationality theory, prospect theory. You have understood. You have understood the Nach theory and other. Mm, so when we will study Rabindranath Tagore's philosophy with the behavioral economics, then we will give much emphasis on those theories, how those theories are related to Tagore's philosophy. For example, the first one that Oshita has pointed out, that humanism, holism, and intuition and rationality. These three important philosophical ideas of Rabindranath Tagore that is related to the consumer behavior. Now, whenever the consumer wants to purchase some product, maybe looking at some of the phenomena in the shop or in the shopping center, they are guided by those phenomena. That means earlier they have planned, that is, they will buy this type of product. But looking at some other person's behavior, they are thinking, no, instead of this product, we can buy this thing. So that happens because of the cognitive biasness. And this cognitive biasness that may happen due to these important issues. One point is the behavioral economics principle, loss aversion. Tagore's concept of the fear of loss is similar to the idea of loss aversion in behavioral economics, which states that people prefer to avoid losses rather than acquire gains. Framing effects, Tagore's emphasis on the importance of perspective and context is reflected in the behavioral economics concept of framing effects, which shows how the way information is presented influences human decisions. For example, you have decided that is you will purchase one mobile which is maybe the 15,000, but by the influence of the shopkeeper, you may think, okay, I can purchase the 30,000 because EMI is there. So that may be due to this loss aversion theory and the framing effect. Another important is the social influence. Tagore's philosophy highlights the significance of social relationship and community. Behavioral economics also recognizes the power of social influence in shaping human behavior, including conformity, social norms, and peer effects. Now, when you study the Devatar Grass of Rabindranath Tagore's poem, you will find that is the behavior of the landlord, particularly, that has been changed due to the power of social influence. Applications and implications. Public policy. Tagore's philosophy and behavioral economics insights can inform public policy design, taking into account human behavior in social context and emotional factors. Marketing and consumer behavior. Understanding the intersection of Tagore's philosophy and behavioral economics can help marketers develop more effective strategies that appeal to human emotion, values, and social influences. Now, you will find that is the shopping mall, even the shop centers also, they are presenting their product in such a manner so that they can appeal to the human emotion. They are decorating their outer part in such a manner so that you can feel, you will be motivated to enter into that shopping center. Personal development and well-being. The combined perspective of Tagore's philosophy and behavioral economics can offer insight into human well-being, happiness, and personal growth, highlighting the importance of emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and social connections. This is also very important, particularly when you think about the happiness, how the people happiness that is affected by the uh, humans' own uh, cognitive set. Okay, that can affect the consumer's behavior. And when you think about this happiness, how the happiness is related to the product, okay, then you will find out that is the product design largely depends upon the ergonomics. That means you have to think that whether the user of the product will be happy or will be unhappy due to the uncomfortability. So you have to design the product in such a manner so that the consumer will feel very much comfortable. So that is also related to this application, particularly if you think about the human happiness. So in this manner, you can think about that is how Tagore's philosophy that is related to the behavioral economics. So I am requesting all of you, please you study thoroughly. And if you have any question, definitely we'll ask. In the WhatsApp group, you can ask this any question if you think. I'm expecting that is you will be able to relate the Tagore statement or Tagore's any song or any poem to directly relate to the theories of behavioral economics. So I'm expecting that is in future you will be able to do this. For example, today I have told you this Devotar glass, where you will find the how the behavior of the landlord that has been changed due to the sudden change in the social norm. So during the crisis period, usually we observe the change in our own plan. That means consumers' behavior, consumers' own plan, economic related to the economic behavior, that has been changed, particularly when consumer find some uncertainty. So this is all about the Tagore's viewpoint. And now, if you have any question, I will try to answer. সোমা,
হ্যাঁ স্যার।
জিনিসটা কি বোঝাতে পারলাম? মানে যখন আমরা একটা আনসার্টেন কন্ডিশনে পড়ে যাই, তখনই কিন্তু বিহেভিয়ারাল ইকোনমিক্সটা ভীষণ ভালোভাবে কাজ করে। আমরা যখন আগের থেকে প্ল্যান করি যে এই কাজটা করব, এই জিনিসটাই আমাদের প্ল্যান থাকে, এবং তারপরে যখন আমরা আনসার্টেন কন্ডিশনটা ফিল করি, তখনই কুইক অ্যাডাপ্ট করতে হয় সিচুয়েশনটা, এবং তখন আমাদের মধ্যে একটা বায়াসনেস ফর্ম করে যায়।
হ্যাঁ, সেটা ছাড়াও আবার হয়তো কখনো ঘুরতে ঘুরতে কোথাও ইনফ্লুয়েন্সেও একটা বিহেভিয়ার চেঞ্জ হয়ে যায় আমাদের, যেটা মনে চলে আসে যে এটা হয়তো প্রয়োজন নেই, কিন্তু হয়তো দেখতে ভালো লাগছে, আমরা সেই ব্যাপারটাকে নিয়ে নিতে পারি বা নিয়ে নিই। সেটা যে কোনো ক্ষেত্রেও হয়, যে যেমন হয়তো কোনো কোথাও গেছি, বুক স্টোরসে ঢুকেছি, জাস্ট হয়তো দেখছি, দেখতে দেখতে আমরা বেছে নিলাম। শুধু জামা
হয়তো
কাপড়
we
না,
have planned that is we will not buy anything in the shopping mall,
Exactly.
just visiting the shopping mall and
At the
to
window shopping
looking at
also,
the
yes.
different products. Suddenly we are thinking, no, this product is important for us, I have to purchase.
Yes, এরকম আমার ক্ষেত্রে অনেক সময় হয়েছে যে instead of buying the particular objects, I have chosen the other objects and I have made a huge bill. And nowadays, that is the GPay, PhonePe is there is no restrictions. That means if you have that money in the wallet or anywhere, so that is without any second thought, I have purchased that excess of the budget also.
So to control the budget, excessive budget particularly, there is a concept about the nudge theory. Nudge theory suggests that is, you must be very much careful about the budget. Therefore, possibly you will find that is the PhonePe, they have introduced pay light system. So if pay light, in that you can pay the amount which is within the specific range, maybe the 2000 your range. So you cannot buy anything more than 2000.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, I will.
So that system is there. For example, usually we move here and there and we spend a huge amount. So if you think, no, whatever the amount I will pay, that is only from the pay light. So pay light range is 2000, not more than 2000. So if the amount is more than 2000, PhonePe will tell you, then you have to use your bank UPI. For
Okay, sir.
example, you have visited any shopping mall. You have planned that is not to purchase anything, but you have seen one brush, paste. Then you are thinking, oh, I have planned to for some tour. So uh, for that tour purpose, small size of paste is important rather than the large size. So you have bought one small size of paste, maybe the 10 rupees it cost. So that can be done through the pay light. And immediately you are giving. Or you want to purchase some food within the range of 500, you can pay from the pay light. So that approach, that is also there.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Today I come to know.
Yeah, so this is based upon the nudge theory of behavioral economics. And also the loss aversion theory. So the question usually come, that is how this particular consumer behavior is related to this which theory. For example, pay light in PhonePe, that is based upon the which theory?
Just now you told notch theory.
Yeah. Then you have to think that is what is the notch theory.
Yes.
You know the notch theory, loss aversion theory, prospect theory, rationality theory. We have taught all of them. Now you can think about. Okay. So I think now we can close the session. Thank you, Akshita, for your presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Farah. Now I'm closing.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Akshita. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.